Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this breakout session with Tchek. Thank you very much for joining myself, first of all, and of course, Lea Chevry, who is co-founder at Tchek. We're very happy that she is with us today. And we're going to talk a little bit more in this presentation from Lea around imagery and artificial intelligence and what role that it can play within the defleeting process. I'm very curious myself, so Lea, again, thank you and welcome. And I'll hand over the floor to you and to the audience. Of course, if you have any questions to Lea around the presentation, please put them in the chat. And at the end of the presentation, I will come back and do a short moderation of your questions with Lea and see if we can answer some or most of them. All right? Lea, the floor is yours.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again for joining, and thank you for choosing this breakout session. Today, we've talked about Johan, about image and how AI can be and have this massive role in the defleeting process with productivity and with interactivity. And today we go through a few of what we've seen throughout the process and what Bertrand mentioned of this circle line, for you to have in mind how can it help? So you might see my screen. So the company Tchek, just for you to have in mind, we are AI-based company. We have funds from Demeter and throughout Europe. And today we'll cover the main challenges. The first one that we've seen of our clients, but also clients of our clients, is that an upgrade of each expectation from trade and end user of UV. We can now say that UV are seen nearly as new vehicles. And it's kind of a flight back to how can we manage this upgrade of expectations. The second expectation that change is mobility. The new normal is a circle line, as Bertrand said, and might be new lines coming in as well that we don't know yet about. Third point that I want to cover today is also recruitment. There has been some difficulties from having recruitment in production, in inspection, also in repair. And this has an impact during your defleeting process. And we'll find a way of how AI can help with recruitment. And also, last but not least, it's very interesting to see, probably all of you have Amazon products coming in to your house, and we can follow the product through every step when it's delivered, each point, which is not the case for the defleeting process and not the case really in the automotive industry, except for those that are already trying some perception, but most of the case are without traceabilities. So those challenges, we can see those during the whole process that Johan was mentioning. So now, where images comes in from? Images are a value generator throughout the whole process, and few groups are already using those image solutions, and a lot are not yet using them or are using them at some point. And this is why we need to cover why it has an impact into the whole process of workflow management. Use of image, what we'll cover today, is really leverage your images that you already have or new images that you could take with AI for productivity and the seller-buyer experience online. So regarding the upstream process, so very early in the process, if we have a look deeper into this process, these key moments are inspection, manual inspection from a separate company like Macadam we've seen today, or two for DECRA, or inspection directly with the customer or without the customer. And what we're looking for here is an optimization of the transport flow. So if we are able to conduct the transport flow since the very beginning, we'll be able to have a time to market. If we can optimize the invoicing or the neutral information thanks to AI, this is where what we've covered this morning with not drunk AI. This is also a good point of having a price neutral. And of course, awareness management, meaning less conflict with the end user, and helping him doing his own inspection in remote. So how do we manage to do that? So with Tchek, this is Tchek Inspect from your mobile. This is how the end user is doing his own inspection itself, and it's also helping in the education that we've covered with Bertrand of how he can understand what the damages might be a price of. So the AI is integrated directly into the smartphone for the taking of the pictures, which is very important because it helps with the quality of the images, and it helps saying when the picture is not good, if we have the right angles, if we are okay with the pictures, for us to then automate the process of recognizing those damages. So the end user can do these pictures, and we can automatize the process for having all the damages detected. This is one of the cases that is done upstream, and it covers all the requirements of how we can deal with end user that is not user friendly with taking pictures. It's kind of a guide. We have a use case here of what are the main benefits of having the end user doing this inspection itself. The first objective is to have a remote self-service. So the person is doing itself, the picture, be helped by the AI throughout the process to process quality of the picture, detection of the damages. So this is one of the first experience benefits for all customers. The second one is just related to the pricing. So let's say you have a buyer doing his inspection on a Saturday morning, and he won't receive any information up until probably Monday morning. That's lack in terms of response. So this is where you can increase your experience and the pricing, having the flow with AI shorter than ever. And it can also have a good impact on the seller position, meaning that he'll probably take again your services. The third point is driving traffic. If you have the picture at the very beginning of the process, then probably you'll be able to understand if that's a car that has been damaged or not, and if we're going to choose a B2B process or B2C, depending on the types of damages that the car has. We can choose the flow of this car. And last but not least, we've said it, and it's the subject. It's been many years. I've talked with Wolfgang about it. It's been many, many years. But yeah, you can have internal control, traceability throughout the whole process at each stage, thanks to mobile solution. So then when we enter later in the process about the compound, at the compound, it's a bit different because you don't have so much traffic during the mobile solution, but all the traffic comes to the compound. So how do we deal with a lot of volume? Mobile solution might not be the right one out there. So we have other way of dealing with the compound and the lease inspection. Here it's much more a use case of refurbishment flow and the compound entry, centralized inspection. It used to be about 50 minutes. It's now much more about 2 minutes, just having the right flow inside and outside, and how you can accelerate your expected lead time. The second best point is not regarding any productivity. So the first one is really about how AI outperforms human performance. This is really the point, or give neutral information. But the second point is at the compound, and you see that in the graph of Johan, you can decide the B2B or B2C flow. And this is why if you have first at end of lease a decision of B2C and B2B process, you can decide this earlier. But if you don't have it, then you can decide at the compound itself. So we've done a case with Jeffco. This is also one of our best clients because they do it for new vehicles and used vehicles. Of course, the fleeting process is about used vehicles, but that's also interesting to see that transportation is also interesting in having the same exactly same inspection than for inspection, lease inspection. Same tool. What is that tool? At Tchek, we have Tchek Capture. It's at compound refurbishment. It's easy peasy. You drive through 10 seconds. You have the tire, you have the body, and you have the underbody with colored pictures for you to share those pictures directly through the process. This is one of the main goal of the remarketing companies that work with us, reuse the images. And we have a precision that is good as expects that you have already in the process. So colored pictures throughout the process, very quick, and of course a precision that you can have. So now, one of the very good questions that Max Vassal from Canex mentioned at the first expert track this year is, how do we manage the overflow with remarketing? So it's interesting to have in mind that using your mobile information, using the mobile instructions, you have already the right pictures to do your remarketing B2B process. So using the end user, using your end client, taking the pictures right with his phone, you can automatize the process of having the damages, or choosing the B2C, B2B flow, or you can reuse, in case of a B2B process, when you don't need a turntable, the same images doing a background removal to share those vehicles online, to share those vehicles to traders. This is why it accelerates tremendously the process. And with AI-based imaging solution, why can we do it? It's because it's very quick. And it's also because we have a robust understanding at the very entry with the photo shoot of what is needed to buy, sell, rent, share, and of course, appraise into the remarketing process. And that's also what something Bertrand mentioned this today. If we have mobility vision, and if we tend to have mobility vision, we'll have more and more shortcuts of this defleeting process, and we more and more will need to use mobile institutions to do that remotely. So just graphically, to have in mind what it means that if we do pictures at pre-inspection, we can reuse these pictures directly to sell or to put online to B2B process, or B2C, depending also on if that's a mobility services. And it can be also coming directly from the home office, from transportation, and you can cover up the online. It can also be in the reverse. If you have the images taken from the pre-inspection online to e-commerce, then you can have a new client doing his pre-inspection, comparing with the previous one that you've done. And so it's just the circle that Bertrand mentioned. How do we manage the circle of this defleeting process with data management? This is also why AI is interesting, is because obviously it's going very, very fast, but it's also data that you have in the cloud and that you can reuse many, many times during the whole process. About integrations, this is has been covered this morning by Bertrand. If we don't integrate into what is now being the new normal, the old management systems, cloud-based or not, we won't be able really to integrate into that circle line. So this is why we've created an open environment for our app to be integrated into the app that you are probably already have, or the app that your management system already have, or expert system already have. So it's a simple existing APIs to have this flow back and forth, including if you're using the autonomous capture, Tchek capture that I've seen before at the refurbishment centers. And we have a web platform for us to have a look at all the car. Why also is this integration important? It's because now we have about 3 million analysis. And as Bertrand said before, this it's often now the same damages that the car has, meaning front left, etc., etc. Those kind of damages we can integrate into a database, share with you. We can also share those analyses very quickly for you to keep in mind how to educate your clients. So this is why integration is key on both sides. So we've seen that image is a value generator, and of course, I think most of you have that in mind since a few times now. There's a reason why AI is new to the market. It's also because it's evolving for many reasons, other challenges that I've covered today, the main challenges, but also mobility and how AI can help. And there's key benefits that we've covered today, and I'm sure you have questions for us to discuss. The food for thought of this discussion today, Joanne wanted me to share with you what is during the defleeting process and first division of B2B and B2C process. AI can help you do that very early in the process. Second is overall process optimization, having it directly online, powered by AI, meaning neutral information, very fast, and strong information, strong analysis with a precision of 2 millimeters. And also regarding transparency and traceability, this has not been discussed at the remarketing session today, but it's also a point that we've covered with a lot of our clients. So I know this is a point that you probably have in mind. And shorter remarketing delays. I think this one might not be really the subject because we are wishing to have cars coming in. But yeah, probably if we tend to have UV cars as leasing UV, that we'll have shorter remarketing delays. And the more we are flexible on UV, the more we shorter UV lease, then probably we'll need shorter remarketing delays to lower the cost and also to accelerate the process. I hope it helped you have in mind why and how AI is having this massive role in the defleeting process in your process of remarketing. I'm, of course, available if you want to discuss that later on, and the team will be happy to help. Also discuss some use case, and also you can share your own pictures for us to have a trial on what it could be. I'm a strong believer of you taking two directions possibly. The first one is to create a new process. Second one, empowering process. So feel free to just share that, and I'll be pleased to answer all of your questions. Many thanks.
Super. Thank you very much, Lea. Very interesting presentation. I have a couple of questions myself, and I saw a couple of questions coming in as well, which were actually quite aligned with my questions, so that's already good. But first, before we start there, again, I want to address the audience here with us. If you have questions, please put them in the chat, and we will try to address them. If I may go first, Lea, if I read this right, and I think that's a question from some of the audience as well, just to understand Tchek a little bit more. You position yourself more as a service provider than actually a hardware provider here. Am I right? So you're really focused on the technology and not necessarily on the tools, correct?
Yeah, well, what we've seen historically, we were hardware based. But what we've seen is that the clients were asking for our main competence, which is AI inside the hardware. And this is why we've extended to be deliberate and probably liberated from the hardware itself, because it all comes from one picture. If we have one picture, then we can work. And we have our own scanning system that we call autonomous capture, because, well, basically it's just doing what we do, but autonomously. But then it's the all same process of how the AI is going to recognize those damages and how we're going to reuse those pictures for remarketing process. So yes, the answer is yes. Our core goal is to have the AI performed into your own existing process. If you already have images, then fine, let's take that. And if you want to industrialize process, let's add these systems that we've developed for us to have this industrialized process.
Which, if I understand this correctly, which makes it immediately available everywhere, correct?
Yes, that's the request. Anywhere, anyone. That's the main point, and I've seen that in the question of Dennis Keppel. Yes, anywhere, anyone, and that's the main goal.
Okay. Dennis indeed also asked the question, how accurate is this? If in your presentation you mentioned, okay, we can go up to 2 millimeters of damages. What does that mean? So if I would compare it to, let's say, a manual inspection, do you capture more? Do you capture less? How do I need to understand the percentage-wise, so to speak?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because it's always asked. So I guess everyone is thinking about it, accuracy. And why is that a good question? Because accuracy depends on the client. And this is why we have a decision tree, because the AI is recognizing a lot of damages. And it's also good to select those damages of what is correct to share to the end user and what is not correct. And this is why we've managed to take that data into decision tree and a way for you to pilot. We have different types of use of that data. We have clients that want to receive it all and want to detect all of the damages, and that's about 100%. And that we have clients that don't want to detect them all. Much more for mobility cars, for example, they know they're just sharing cars and will always have some scratches, and that's the case. So accuracy depends on what is your use, and it goes from 74% up to nearly 100%. I see there's a lot of questions regarding how do we make an experienced user to take the right picture, correct angle. That's a great question also, Dennis Keppel, because this is why AI comes into place. AI sees if it's the right angle, says it's not if it's not the right one, says it's if that's the picture of a picture, says there's a lot of things that we do obviously with our own eyes that AI can directly correct, and this is what we do. So AI is just managing to see if the picture is the right one with pre-selected angles. So then it's 16 angles that we've pre-selected for us to have for sure all the angles for remarketing performance, but also for us to have the detection accuracy that we want.
Okay, and with those 16 pictures, then we also have the let's say the sales pictures ready immediately at the end.
Yes, this is the main goal. We back in 2018, we had so many questions. How can I reuse those inspection pictures for the remarketing performance? And it has come to now the decision to take directly from the beginning those remarketing pictures to help throughout the process. So now if I take the third questions, malicious users will always exist. But now AI can help for a few examples. So how it can help? It can help with switching the background. So if the background change in between a few pictures, then probably it's not the right cars. It exists. I see you smiling, but this is a real fact. It's accurate. Sometimes it's not even the right color. So this is the kind of examples where AI is, of course, useful. Removing license plates is also something that is still difficult. You are able on your side to have a look at the VIN. So if the car is taken as the VIN picture, we have AI recognizing the VIN, which is also useful. Not so many in the fleet background, but depending the countries, it is very useful. Then yes, it can help.
Okay.
There's a lot of questions coming.
Yeah, Goke Sina also had an interesting question, which I find. I mean, it's also has to do with accuracy, but on the other hand, it might not. I mean, looking, for example, at the tires, does it take that level of detail into account as well, or is it only looking at the bodywork from this perspective? So can it see on the picture if the tire is still okay, or is that a bridge too far at this moment?
Well, tire is also a good question. So we have two options here for tire. We have, as described also in the presentation, the mobile inspection of how can we manage to see if the symbol has changed. And it's not the same process from the automatized process where we can see if it's profound or not. So I won't mix them both because that's different, two different process, and that's not also the same accuracy. But yes, we can have the tie. I see another question from you, Gokai. How does the automated inspection work? I can develop, since we have a few minutes and you're a lot here, probably asking yourself the question. So first step is capture. We need a picture. This is an AI. AI can be on data or AI can be on images. There's a few ways AI can perform, but our way, Tchek, is computer vision, so from a picture. So first, it starts with a picture. Then we have a process, so process quality. So if the picture is correct or not, if that's correct, then it's just passing to the process of damage inspection. We have a list of all of the damages that are recognized, and then it goes to what we call our decision tree for us to pre-select what you have in mind sharing with the clients. So you kind of like boxing some damages. This one is a damage that will not cover. This one is damage that will cover. So that's what we call the process and decision tree process. And then the last part is display. So it can be displayed in our web platform, in our app, or it can be transferred directly thanks to our API overbook, depending on the system, to your own system. And you receive the data from JSON formats directly for you to perform. If you have more questions or if there's something you want me to develop, feel free to ask again.
All right. I still have a couple, if I may, Lea. I'm just a little bit curious. So, am I right in saying that? So, if you within the company structure, can you also include different levels in the sense that, for example, these are the rules that would apply for these cost centers. So saying that any damage above 200 euros is only reflected, any damage below 200 euros is reflected. Those kind of rules, those kind of policies, can those be set within the tool?
Well, pricing is a good question, and probably will take an hour to discuss. Pricing, there's three main options here. The option of having a format, since some already pricing systems and solutions exist, we have integration with some of those solutions, and we are also willing to accept other integrations. So let's say DAT, for example, in Germany, this is a system that can provide us directly the price, and it's just the back and forth of the pricing. Second option is you having your own flat rate price. And this is the price that you pre-format. It can take as many lines as you wish, but it has to keep to the track that we have as Tchek format. And last but not least, our own flat rate price. This is a format that we've seen, and it's a flat rate that is the same throughout Europe. So this is the challenging one for the depleting process, we know. But most of the case, it's one or two. And sometimes there's no relation to the price. And that's also important to keep in mind. The massive role in the defleeting process, as I've underlined today, is also sometimes just to reuse the picture. It is not related to any flat rate, and that's two different cases that we can cover at Tchek: inspection or remarketing.
Okay. Perhaps a final question from my side. Can Tchek, I presume I know the answer, but I just wanted to see whether it's already being done today. Can Tchek also be used, let's say, for driver changes? So I can imagine that within a company, if you have a driver, he's driving a car, he leaves the company and somebody else picks it up. Can it be done for intermediate analysis or appraisals of vehicles? Yeah.
Well, your car and Nevis Budget, one of our very good clients. And first, they've tried with the automated process, the one that I've underlined at the compound process, because they have a flow of also a need to compare from one car one day to another car one day, the same car. So that's how we started with the driving change process. And we've turned that into the mobile app, but that's still in beta, of how the driver, this is a need. We have so many requests for the mobility side, and it is also the plan to have it in the app. There's a few one testing it. So yes, I'll be pleased at the next session to show that. I'll answer your question, Dennis, regarding the interior in the future. So that's another good question. We've started with the exterior. We have now a database for the interior that is beginning to be bigger. It won't be the same process than it is with exterior, because with exterior we can map by piece. So let's say it's a scratch, door left, etc. Severity high, 10 centimeters. Interior is different process. It's not the same kind of damages, and sometimes we have in the database much more recognizing if elements are there or not. This AI can do. So let's say if there's something in the floor that needs to be there, that this AI can do. So this is how we've begin with the interior. And for now, interior is something that is not automatized process, taking the picture. Manually, the person is adding for us to have the data and to automatize in the second step.
All right, super. So still a lot more to come. That's good to hear.
Well, I think, and this can be also the conclusion. It's good to see. Thank you for the question, Dennis, Kokai, and all of you. It's good to see that now groups understand this is a game changer for the industry. We've studied with the industry of the automotive and the rental industry. We came into your industry with logistics, and now we are in the remarketing process. And we see that we are lucky enough to have one product, a car, that is the same throughout each country. And this is very interesting. I have partners that have AI in other industries, and they cannot project what they've done from one sector to another, which is not the case for us, thanks to the fact that we're dealing with cars. And that's very good to have that in mind. We can have it throughout the overflow. It's always a car, and it's always the same types of elements that we're looking for.
Super. Thank you very much, Lea. Thank you for your time. I think it was a very interesting session. I think there are still some questions coming in, but if I may ask, of course, the people who still have questions, please do contact Lea. She will still be in the remarketing expert track for the coming time, so you can contact her personally directly via people. And again, thank you, Lea. Then to the audience, I think we now have a networking break, and we will recommence on main stage at 15:50. So we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much, Lea. Thank you, Tchek.
Thanks to you all.
See you next time. Thank you.